Welcome to our Unleash Your Greatness podcast by Zeducation. I'm your host, Pussy, and joining us on our show today is our brother, Rob Poleki, CEO and founder of Washie, joining us over Zoom from United States of America, more specifically, Salt Lake City. Welcome, brother. It's awesome to have you.
Hey, Bussy, excited to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, brother. I know it's, what time is it in America at the moment? Where you are?
So 4 p.m.
4 p.m. Nice. So it's just after 10 here. It's 10 past 10.
Okay.
So it's awesome. So thank you. Hey, the reason why I reached out to you to have you on this podcast is because you have an amazing story. I see your posts on LinkedIn quite often. I find it inspiring. And I just feel like a lot of people need to hear this, especially our audience. And so I guess, Rob, let's start from the beginning, brother. For those who don't know what Washie is, tell us a little bit about Washie.
Yeah, so Washie is the world's first smart toilet seat for public restrooms. And it's also a sanitizing toilet seat for public restrooms. So, here in the States, in public restrooms, we use paper toilet seat covers. I don't know if New Zealand and Australia have paper toilet seat covers, but basically there's a piece of paper that you put down on the seat before you use the restroom, and it's supposed to protect you. And it's like, yeah, this thing isn't protecting anyone. So, I'm a very creative guy. I have all these ideas. So I came up with an idea that you actually can sanitize the seat before you sit. So Washie is a toilet seat, a sanitizing toilet seat.
Well, the world's first smart toilet seat. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So it actually connects to an app. So every seat is smart, connects to an app, and it lets maintenance know if you're low on a battery, if you're low on the chemical that goes inside of the seat. So you never have to check it physically. So we are a part of the smart restroom family. So smart dispensers are now a thing in the States, where the soap dispenser and the paper towel dispenser are smart. So if it runs out, the maintenance crew will know before it runs out.
That's awesome. How convenient is
Yeah.
that? Here in New Zealand, we don't have the paper cover seats that you talked about.
Yeah.
Here in our public places, it's just your normal toilet seat. What I've seen, they've got I don't know if you know, here in New Zealand, they've got the one on the walls where it's like a dispenser on the wall,
Right.
and you have to push the button, and then there's a foam or whatever goes onto the toilet paper, then you use that to wipe the toilet seat. So I've seen
Right.
that in some, but you mostly see that in nice places like cafes and restaurants. But when you go into like public places like your parks and playgrounds and all that, beaches, it's there is no toilet seat. It's just a straight toilet. And honestly, sometimes it's just really disgusting. I don't even want to sit on there.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible, but I understand, because in those kind of places, you have idiots who take the seats off and break it, vandalize it, and all of that, right? So it
Yeah.
makes sense. It's just a stainless steel toilet without a seat, really.
Yeah.
um,
So in the States, our public restrooms is any restroom outside of your home.
wow.
So really the facilities that we are targeting are airports, hospitals, stadiums, arenas, places where high traffic of people. They're at halftime of a Utah Jazz game. Everyone's going to the restroom, and
Yeah.
it's not the cleanest, right? And
Mm.
especially for women, because women have to sit 100% of the time.
Mhm.
So that's what we found, that our product comes in, and people love our product, is because we enhance customer experience. Customers see cleaner restrooms, they're like, oh, I love going to this place. Which data has found that they spend more money in facilities when restrooms are cleaner. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I can definitely see like this taking off. It probably already is, to be honest. Like, tell us a little bit, like, how's it going at the moment? And I mean, how long has it been now? Because this started in 2018,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I've been on quite the journey. So previous to this life, this entrepreneur life, I was a elected official in the state of Idaho.
Mm.
And I've been in government my whole life. And I always had some side hustles. side businesses. You know, my parents taught us to always hustle, do something on the side. And so, I filed for my first US patent in 2015, and I was issued the patent in 2018. And so I decided to go on this show, Shark Tank. I don't know if you guys know what the US
Yes.
show called Shark Tank is.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so I quit my job, went on the show.
Wow.
I got cut from the show. And then that's where the journey begins for me. So, from the idea of me having this idea in 2015, it became reality and a real product in 2019, where I started manufacturing. I started going out there, and we got hit by COVID, and we had to kind
Mm.
of pivot a little bit, but now we're back on track. And we have, a lot of facilities in Utah and Idaho, and now we're launching nationwide in the US.
That's amazing. So you talked about you've always had the side hustle, and you talked about your parents kind of inspired, encouraged that kind of mindset in you. And then you had this idea that was sitting in your mind for a while. 2015, you said, and it wasn't
Yep.
until 2019. So a lot happened in between, and you went on to Shark Tank. Shark
Yeah.
Tank. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I watched that show a lot. And so when you
Yeah.
say you got cut, did you mean you made a deal?
No. Cut meaning, so what happened is in 2018, 42,000 companies applied for Shark Tank. And the last group of companies went down to Hollywood, right? Went down to LA, and I
Mm.
was in that group, and I was one of the last companies to get cut before going to the Shark Tank.
Ah, I
And so
see.
I didn't even make it to the Sharks, and I quit my job thinking, hey, I'm going on this show Shark Tank. I'm about to be a millionaire, right? But it just didn't happen that way.
Mm.
It was just hit reality, but it was the best thing that ever happened for me because I
Mm.
was able to go full time with this project. Right? If I wouldn't have quit my job, it would always been a side hustle, and I don't know where Washie would have been today if I wouldn't have quit my job. But now that 24/7 I'm on this project, it's come pretty far.
So you made a bold move to leave your job to pursue this dream.
Yeah,
And to the point where you applied for this whole Shark Tank opportunity. So it's similar to New Zealand Idol. I didn't know there was a process beforehand. I mean, it makes sense. It's almost like auditions and stuff like that before you get onto the stage.
yep,
And so you almost made it. You almost made it. So now
yep.
I understand what you mean by you got cut last minute or the last stage. But I mean that might have been devastating. Like, what was the reason why you didn't make it through? Like, did they even give you any feedback or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So all I had was a prototype, an ugly looking prototype. It was my first ever prototype, and this utility patent that was issued. So once I got the utility patent issued to me, it's like, you know what, I'm going to try out for the show. So I had no revenue, right? Sales zero, and no traction, no interest. I just had this piece of paper and a prototype, and so I went on basically with an idea, and and there was another restroom company that it was far into the process of sales, and they were already in the market where I was just still an idea. So that's why they cut me on the show. I had made it past all these companies, 42,000 companies, and at the end, before going on to Shark Tank, they cut me.
Yeah. Ah, okay, I see. And so all you had was this prototype that you created, or
Yeah.
someone helped you create, and a piece of paper, which I assume was like your more information and your pitch kind of thing as well.
Well, yeah. Well, the piece of paper, the patent protects me from
Right.
anyone, ever trying to do what I invented. So I'm an official U.S. inventor now, because I was
Wow.
issued these patents. So that piece of paper is really important when you go on a show, right? Because hey, no one
Yes.
can ever copy me. Yeah,
Yeah, because I always watch Shark Tank, and they always ask those kind of questions. Does it have a
right,
patent? What's the protection behind it? And I guess obviously it gives more value to your product and
right.
competition and all that, right? That's pretty cool. I've never seen a Pacifica yet Islander on a Shark Tank show. and you were so close to being on
Yeah.
stage in front of the
Oh,
lights.
and and they still keep in touch with me every year. They say, "Hey, Rob, how's sales going?
Wow.
We might have an interest of you coming on the show this year." I mean, you see every year there is some restroom company that makes it onto the show. So they want, they pick a certain amount of restroom companies, a certain amount of food products, certain amount of, different types of inventions, clothing. So yeah, they keep in touch with me every year. Yeah.
That's awesome. And tell us about the point where, you got the news, obviously, you didn't make the cut. And how did you cope with that? Because that would have been like devastating, right? Like you're almost there, but you didn't make it. But look at where you are now. You stick,
Yeah.
you still keep going. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, one of the most depressing parts of this journey was
Mm.
that first hit to the gut, because I had quit my job to go on the show. So they gave me an ultimatum. Since I was an elected official, I was not allowed to go on the show on a network while being an elected official in the state.
Mm.
So I quit my job for that reason. And right before going on the show, I'm thinking I'm going on. We're talking about my pitch. We're talking about my set. Buying furniture, and they cut me. And I had given. I had a family of five. My wife and three kids at that time, and I had given up a good salary, good paying job, benefits, healthcare, and retirement, and I given up to for this one shot, and I was cut. And so after a couple of weeks of, just like not knowing what to do, I talked to my wife and she was like, listen, this is the perfect opportunity for you to go 100% and make this happen. And we made a plan, and it was the best thing at the time. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But now looking back, it was the best thing that ever happened because it opened the door for me to go and pursue a dream of being an entrepreneur and pursue this invention, bringing it to life. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you have an awesome wife, and to be able to support you, and that's like I said, that's a big move to leave a sustainable job, um, and you had family of five kids, and and then to pursue this passion, which you weren't sure whether it was gonna be
Yeah.
successful or not, but in your heart you knew it would be, right? You just
Yeah.
keep pushing it and
Yeah.
pushing. So what was it, after you got cut, what did you actually do next specifically? Like what did you do?
Yeah. So I did some research, right? Research on who can manufacture my product. Went to the biggest cleaning trade show in the world. It was in Dallas, Texas. Went to the show and I found some manufacturers. Headed to China, first time to China. Spent 2 weeks
Wow.
there. Found the best dispenser makers in the world, and they started designing my product. So, I put about 100 grand of my own money into the company at that point,
Mm.
and I just went. I just started going, right, and then through getting cut from Shark Tank and it being all over the newspaper in the States, a lot of investors, a lot of companies wanted to get in on what I was doing. So I started to gain some traction. And so I raised money on a pre-seed round and just went from there. So, started building the company, started building and doing a lot of R&D. So today we're kind of at a point where the product is ready to go. Product is ready for nationwide distribution.
Wow.
So yeah, we've
That's
come a long
amazing.
way.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's very inspiring. So it sounded like you did save up a bit of money. You didn't just cold turkey your job and all that, right?
yeah,
So and then you obviously did some research and you flew to China, which is another big move, and you still kept going anyway because you knew it was a great idea.
yeah.
And I mean, you didn't walk away from Shark Tank with nothing. I mean, you still got some, I guess, some awareness about what you're doing and who you are. So you got some publicity basically from that, which definitely helped. So there's always a
Right.
gain. There's always a gain,
Yeah.
which I love.
No, the experiences are everything, right? I've used the Shark Tank theme in every pitch that I've I've had to pitch for money, to pitch for some kind of facility to take on our product. So all the experiences, all the ups and downs that I've gone through, it's a part of the book. Every book that you read from, if you see Bill Gates's journey or anybody's journey,
Mm,
always starts from the garage and always starts as people saying no and them trying to weave their way through to make it happen, right?
yeah. I mean, it sounds like you've got some pretty good sales experience now based on
Yeah.
that. I guess like for entrepreneurs out there or people who are thinking about pitching their idea to get investors or to take it further, get funding, when it comes to like preparing a pitch or presentation, what are some best advice or tips that you can provide around preparing for something like that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely got to know what you're selling, know your product, right? If you're inventing a product, making sure that you've done all the R&D, all the research, making sure that users will purchase it or use your product, making sure that all the research is done. Because once you pitch your product, the experts are gonna grill you on every single inch of your product, on how it's made, how are you going to make money,
Mm,
is it going to be profitable. And if you're pitching your product and you don't know those things, you're going to look like a like an idiot on stage, right? And so I've been through that. I have had to learn through all the stages of pitching and perfecting my pitch, and getting the right information to become kind of an expert at it, at pitching product. But yeah, just knowing your product and believing in your product. A lot of people give you money on the idea, but mostly because they're betting on you as the individual, that you will
mm.
execute the business plan, that you will execute and go out there and actually do it rather than just talking about it, right? So it's probably 80-90%. I'm betting on you as a person, as an entrepreneur, and probably 10-20% of what this product is.
I love that. Some great advice. And so, I mean, you've mentioned the R word a lot here in this research, and it's knowing your stuff,
Yeah.
pricing, competition, product fit, market fit, branding, all of that stuff, right? How's the product made, the type of technology? I mean, to the point where you flew to China. Oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how involved and passionate you were about it. Um, awesome. I love that. Some great experience. Tell us a little bit about obviously, this is a new idea and it's been sitting around since 2015 before, you got this far. What were some of the challenges that you came across? Because I'm sure, you probably would have got a lot of pushbacks or doubts or things like that, right? Um,
Yeah.
what were some of those challenges and how did you get through those?
Yeah. So the biggest challenge we've had recently is changing culture, right? The mindset of people in the US. So in places like New Zealand and Australia, Canada, maybe some parts of Europe, the, wiping down the seat before you sit is something that you're okay with, right? Something,
Mm,
if it's the only stall I'm going to use, I'm going to try to sanitize the seat down so I can sit down on it. But in America, there's been a culture of using paper toilet seat covers and thinking that they would protect you somehow, and it's been changing that culture. It's it kind of comparable to Airbnb. Airbnb, when the idea first came along, everyone thought that this would be a flop, right? Who would want to stay in somebody else's bed? Who's going to this is not going to work. Who's going to rent out your place and stay in your place? And look at what happened today. Look at what happened to Uber. I'm going to catch a taxi, right? Taxis are the way to go now. And now I'm jumping into a stranger's car and somebody's, renting out a car. It's changing culture like that is what I'm up against today. Changing people's habits in restrooms and what they're
mm,
doing. So we have about 70-80% of people who are like, oh my gosh, this is genius. Why
mm,
we need this now in all public restrooms. Then you have 10-20% of people are like sticking to old habits, sticking to, oh, I'm going to use a paper toilet seat cover, even though I know that it doesn't protect me. I'm going to do it anyway. Or this is how I use the restroom and I'm not going to do it anymore. So we're we're changing culture, right? We're changing the way people use the public restroom. We're a brand new product. No one's ever seen us before. Getting marketing out there, teaching people how to use the product in a restroom, in a public space, is what we're up against now. But before that, really, it was getting past all the no's. People didn't believe in the product. People didn't think that it was going to go anywhere. And now those people are kind of jumping on the bandwagon. So, so yeah, it's sorry, maybe lost you. So it's been the journey. It's I've come across so many times where I thought I was going to give up and say, "Dang, not another like mistake, or not another like hiccup with manufacturing," or like there's been so many times where like I can't believe I'm I keep going, but I can't stop now. That's one of my things that I put on LinkedIn is I can't stop, won't stop. Right?
Can't stop, won't
I
stop.
had this mentality where if I stop, like all the work that I've put in has been for nothing. All the people that have believed in me, my family, my parents even gave me money to help this journey. They believe in the
Wow.
dream, and so I can't stop now because I'm right around the corner of success. I could feel it. So yeah, man, that's kind of the journey for me.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, like you're right. You're talking about habits, and you're introducing this new technology. And people have their own way, especially if they're so used to it for a very long time. They've been conditioned to that particular.
Yep.
This is how we do it. It's just convenient for me, even without thinking. And so you are introducing a new kind of technology, a new habit as well. You're trying to teach them. And it reminds me of like internet or iPhones and things like that, right? Like there's some people like, nah, it's not for me. But then eventually over time, they jump on the
Yep.
wagon, right? And you just talked about 80%, 85%. Like that's still a lot of like a lot of people that are still keen to try this new thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's even with that number, it's still worth pursuing, even though you're never going to get a perfect 100%, but 80, 85, that's good.
Right.
So it's awesome. I think it's a quite smart, because even myself, I reflect on my habits. I'm like, yeah, when I go to places, I kind of like, I wipe the toilet seat with a toilet
Yeah.
paper before I use it, right? And
Yep.
then like that's my habit. Right. So I can see myself, it's not here in New Zealand yet, right? You don't have this technology here in New Zealand, but
No.
I can imagine it being like, yeah, it's like, that's just what I do. It totally makes sense. But how do you, I guess, because you are right, you're talking about habits, how are you helping people learn about this new technology, and also like, develop this new habit around using it, because it is new.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was going to say maybe it's a New Zealand thing because I did grow up in New Zealand, and maybe it was the culture there that we wipe toilet seats before we sit. But I do the exact same thing, thinking that for some reason that I'm wiping a toilet seat that it's clean all of a sudden. But I didn't wipe it with anything. There's no soap or any sanitizer. I'm just wiping down the seat, thinking
Mm,
that it's cleaning it. But I still do the same thing myself. So how are we teaching people, right? The first phase of our business was really getting the R&D and making sure that I had a viable product, making sure that the product actually works. So we've had our product in hospitals for over a year now,
wow.
and we have no issues. When I first got the product, though, oh my gosh, the biggest headache. There was product issues. Sensors. There's two sensors in the product. Sensors weren't working. The hinge that we used was pretty weak. I had to change the plastic on the hinge. So for about the first 4 or 5 months, I was really in the testing phase of this product. I was staying up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, installing and testing seats, fixing
Wow.
seats, right? And so we've barely come to a stage where we are confident in the product. It's made 100%. It can last in public settings. And so now is the point where we're going out and teaching people how to use our product. So there's a 3-step sticker that goes on the back of the stall, the wall. So it tells you how to use the product. And we've had tons of data come in, tons of studies done on a 9-year-old child to a 65-year-old person trying to use the seat. So we've modified the sticker. They understand it, 9-year-old and a 65-year-old. So now putting it out into the market and without any education, we can see on the data, because our seat is smart, we can see how many times it's been used.
Wow.
So we'll put it out into a convention center, and we'll let it sit for 2 weeks, and then we'll go back and say, okay, somebody has activated this seat 1,200 times in the 2 weeks, right? And so now we get this data. Oh, okay, people are using it. They know how to use it. Now it's putting out marketing. I've put $0 into marketing. The only marketing that I've done is through LinkedIn, and all I do is tell my story, and I am flooded with leads in my inbox, leads from some of the biggest restroom companies in America. And so people, follow me, people like my story, they share my story, and the decision makers that I need to get to see it somehow through algorithms, through, and I definitely add the right people, right? I definitely add people in certain companies to make sure that they see the product. But we have put, I wouldn't say zero, we probably put less than $5,000 into marketing for the last 3 years. We have basically been word of mouth in LinkedIn. So
I love it.
I didn't even know what the original question was. What was it? Did I answer the question?
yeah, asked it. No worries.
Okay.
I mean, I love that you mentioned LinkedIn, because I've been telling people and hammering this for a long, long time. I've got a lot of clients, and I help them with branding and marketing and all that. And I always mention LinkedIn, and what you've just explained there shows the power behind LinkedIn and growing your business. If you're an entrepreneur, even if you're just at the startup phase, you just want to get it out there, get some awareness, or even if you're at the phase where you want to grow, looking for investment, like that's the platform. That's the platform.
I'll give some of your viewers some advice on what I do on LinkedIn. So first thing is go YouTube Gary V's LinkedIn strategy. I've followed Gary V's LinkedIn strategy for 3 years now, and it has worked to the T. I post at least once a day about my story. I never sell my product. I'm never on LinkedIn selling $99 seats, $200 seats, sale, blah, blah, blah. I'm always telling the journey of the truth of the ups and downs of my journey. Sometimes I'll post about, hey, we got this new account installing seats. I'm installing the seats, right? I'm doing everything as the CEO. And people want to connect to you because it's real, because they do it themselves. They could see them doing it themselves. And I tell them the story of Shark Tank. I tell them the story of how I got rejected, and they connect to that. So you want to be real on LinkedIn. Make sure that you post every day. Tell your story. Never sell. Everyone hates spamming people in the inbox and saying, hey, I got this new product for you. Nah, you make a relationship. It's just like dating, right? You want to create relationships, and eventually the person will ask you out on a date, or you ask that person out on a date. Yeah. It's just the same thing on LinkedIn. So man, I could show you my inbox. I made so many huge connections in my industry because of what I've posted.
What's one big opportunity that has come about, or one success that has come about because of LinkedIn for your business?
Yeah, so we've been in some deep discussions. I can't say the name right now because we're in some contracts, but top 3 restroom companies in America have contacted us to either acquire or license our product. And so they're watching, they have been watching me for a long time. And they have contacted us, contacted me personally through LinkedIn. So, when I get these inboxes, messages from, the CEO of a company, like a multi-billion-dollar company. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy how I never would have thought that, this idea that I had was now in the eyes, in front of people that are experts at this. And I had no experience in the restroom industry, no experience in manufacturing, no experience in toilet seats.
Mm.
Just one day, just decided to do it and just figure it out.
Yeah, you had no experience, but you were learning along the way. You were researching and
Oh yeah,
learning, and you know along the way. And I
uh,
think it's important for people to understand that process,
yeah.
of success. There's a lot of ups and downs in between to get to
Oh
where you
yeah,
want to be.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You have to fail. You have to fail to learn. I tell people I have a master's in Google and YouTube. I don't know what if you have like a master's or doctorate in New Zealand and Australia, but
Ah.
everything is on Google and YouTube. Any tutorial, any editing tutorial. I learned how to read, like do CAD design
Wow.
for manufacturing from tutorials. Anything on everything is on Google, man. So there's really no excuse if you think that you can't learn, because everything you need is on YouTube and Google.
That's awesome. I'd like to maybe understand a little bit about your because obviously Washie is one thing that you do. It's part of your life, your business. How do you manage all of that? I mean, because you're a dad, you're a husband. I don't know what else you do in the community. If you have other responsibilities, like how do you find time to still be a family man, be who you need to
Yeah.
be, and then also grow this business that requires a lot of time and energy and focus from you?
Yeah. So in my past job in government, I made a lot of mistakes as a father. Right. I took the job over my family. Right. I was never home. My wife was basically a single mom, taking the kids to all their sports, dinner. She was mom and dad while I was always at work, right?
Mm.
Trying to get this career going as an elected official. I thought I was going to climb my way to being, maybe a, governor or mayor someday, or, some important position. And I made mistakes, and I missed a lot of my kids, games, football games, dance recitals, and I made that mistake, and I learned from that. And in this new process, in this new journey that I'm on, I made sure that I scheduled my kids first in my calendar, that their schedules come first. So I made sure that now, I'm a football coach. I coach my son. I coach my daughter's basketball team, and so I make sure
Wow.
that all of the family stuff is scheduled for, and then I schedule my work around it. And if I have to be up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because I work, because I'm working and making sure that I get my family stuff done first, so be it, right? But I make sure that family comes first, and I schedule. It has to do with my calendar. I schedule everything, all my family stuff first. So yeah, it works out.
Nice. So planning, scheduling, and so being in this business now in the position that you are, you have a little bit more time and freedom now with family and all of that, which is pretty cool. That's
Right,
that's
right.
the dream.
Yeah,
You don't have to wait till you make $1 million or $1 billion to finally have the freedom. Like you can start doing that now. It's just about
yeah,
managing your time effectively and prioritizing.
yeah. I tell people all the time, I don't have a 9 to 5 anymore. I have a 24/7. But having the 24/7, it allows me to, be with my kids, be with my wife, spend time with them, and then
Mm.
do, business anytime I want.
Yeah, I like that. When people hear that, like, oh, I don't have a 9 to 5, I've got a 24/7. Like, some people can interpret that like, oh man, like I'm gonna have no time now getting into business and that, right? Like, how do you, especially with your relationship with your wife, how do you still manage that as well? Like, how do you still find time for you and your wife to, because that relationship's important.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, it's like having two chiefs in the same household, right? So we have a couple businesses together, which she runs, and
Wow.
I run Washie. So we don't ever intersect because it would just be a disaster, right? But then we do come together and talk about, how we can help each other. So make sure that we're planning out our date nights, make sure that we,
Nice.
you know, have my parents fly in from Hawaii to come watch the kids so we can go out and have a vacation. So definitely just making time, making the family a priority has been so helpful for us on the journey, because my wife, for the longest time after I quit my job, was paying for the bills, right? My wife
Mm.
was running two businesses and she was the breadwinner. And while I went on this journey, right? And so I had to kind of give it up. Like, hey, you're making all the money for us. It was, businesses that we created. But yeah, she's been holding up the fort for a long time.
That's amazing. So how many businesses do you have between the two of you?
So currently three. Um, we own a commercial cleaning company in Idaho, and that does pretty well. And then we have Washie, and then she's an interior designer, so she's also a real estate agent, so she does like homes as well. So yeah,
Wow, that's a lot, man. Big ups to both of you for doing all of that with all your family, running three businesses.
yeah.
That's pretty big. That's pretty big.
I figured, so growing up, I grew up in Manadela,
Mm.
went to St. Anne's Primary. I moved from Manadua to Honolulu when I was 12 years old. And so I told myself, my parents gave us everything that they could. You know,
Mm.
we, I tell people, we weren't poor, but, we, we didn't, we grew up humbly, right? And I told myself that, hey, my parents made this jump over to the States to give me a better life. I better own up to that, and I better pay them back for everything that they've done for me. They they were born and raised in Samoa, and then they made the leap to New Zealand, which is a huge leap from them. And then they saved up money and they made a lot of sacrifices for our family to from New Zealand to Hawaii. And then obviously, my brothers and sisters and I was able to go to university, play football in the States, and live, maybe a better life than we lived in New Zealand. So yeah. I definitely owe them. So that's why I'm always on it. I'm always trying to level up somehow to kind of pay them back for what they did for us.
That's awesome. Humble beginnings, and it's about giving back. It's about gratitude, appreciation, and showing
Yeah.
that love. I love it. And a lot of people don't see that behind the entrepreneur, especially yourself. I mean, they just see, oh, this guy that's trying to chase the dream, the money, and all of that. No, but actually, the why and the purpose behind it is more deeper than that,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And what I also learned from you is it is possible to still have a family, a big family, and to be running more than one business, and still have a good relationship with your wife and also your kids as well. And it all comes
Yeah.
back down to what you said: your values, prioritizing, and time management, and also communication with the other chief.
Yeah. Right. Right.
That's awesome. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation. I've learned so much, and my audience will as well. So I want to thank you for your time. And you've got to come around and visit us sometime when you're in New Zealand or when we come to
Yeah. Yeah.
Utah.
Okay. No, let's definitely keep in touch. I appreciate you having me on the show. I'll just leave you with this one last thought: is that I've gone through my story and told you a bunch about what I do, and and it I might have made it sound like it's easy. Oh, maybe I didn't, but this has been one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Is being an entrepreneur, creating a product, being an inventor, going through all the ups and downs, having other businesses. Right, is the hardest thing that I've ever done, but it's doable. Right, it's something that I'm accomplishing today, and it works. So for your viewers and stuff, if you're on a journey that you want to become an entrepreneur or start a business somehow, you're gonna fail. You're always gonna fail, but it's just how you come back and keep going through it. So Yeah.
I love it. Yep. Expect to fail, but also expect to learn and to grow from it. I love it. Some great advice. And if people want to get in contact with you or learn more, where can they go?
I love to connect with people on LinkedIn. Just look for me, Rob Poleki, on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions about my journey, I answer every single inbox message I get. So yeah, just inbox me or connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, brother. Very inspirational. Ofatu and all the best.